Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers Postgame, brought to you by our friends at Mortgage CS. I'll tell you about them in a minute. But first, my name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me in just a little bit will be Charlie O'Connor, live from the Wells Fargo Center. Once he does all his, journalism stuff, talk to the coach, see what players are available, go over this ridiculous travesty of a game. I don't want to make too much of it, but as they said, as the broadcast turned to the post game, Flyers just one win in their last 7. It is not going well for this team. They take on the bottom-feeding Columbus Blue Jackets tonight and lose in the shootout. The Flyers, of course, go 0 for 3 in the shootout. We have plenty to talk about in this game. Lots of lineup decisions, stuff I want to talk over with Charlie when he joins us. We'll get into it first, of course. But just to lead off for a second with some decisions made in this one. It was, I thought, I'm trying to bring up, the Shootout Report is its own link now on NHL.com. There we go. So I wanted to, just a small thing here. The Philadelphia Flyers, the hockey team, the Flyers, they cannot score except for all-star Travis Konecny. And congratulations to Travis Konecny for being named the team's representative to an all-star. We'll see to the all-star game. We will see if they have another representative. I would be surprised. But Travis Konecny, 2 goals tonight, all over the place. He has been the sole offensive force for this team for a lot of this season. Joel Farabee's in there. He's been pretty damn good. He was great again tonight. But you sent up in the shootout Sean Couturier and 2 rookies. Sean Couturier, Bobby Brink, and Tyson Foerster. Now, I know maybe in practice these guys, maybe they go deep in the end of practice shootout tournament or whatever it is they do to determine who gets to go in this. And Couturier, he scored on that penalty shot. He scored with that move he uses a couple of times. I think he has better hands than we give him credit for. He hasn't been horrible in his career in shootouts, but I don't think anyone would be like, oh, well, yeah, Coots, obviously 100% he has to go. And then Bobby Brink, he's been hot and cold this season. Tyson Foerster, he hasn't scored in, I have it somewhere in here, I think it's like 12, 13 games. I don't care if every Travis Konecny goal this season was a Mike Knuble goal, like just winning a fight in front and the puck hits him and happens to, you put him out there. He scored 2 already. No one else, the Flyers scored 2 goals tonight. No one else scored any. How does the guy who scored against this goalie not get an opportunity? Also, no one else on the whole team can score ever. I shouldn't be yelling. There's probably things I could be yelling about later that we'll get to. But just the thought process. And it's not as if Travis Konecny is Mike Knuble. He scores all of his goals on the rush. Now, a lot of them shots, a lot of them 2-on-1 opportunity. But the fact of the matter is, he scores while skating towards the goalie quite a bit. To not give him the opportunity just seems kind of foolish. That's all. It's a small thing about tonight's game. There's lots of other things to be more frustrated about. We know that shootouts are kind of a coin flip. Now, this coin has been coming up tails a lot for most of the last 20 years or so since the shootout's been instituted. But that was just a small thing that annoyed me tonight. I'll tell you who doesn't annoy me, though. It's our friends at Mortgage CS. And like I said, PHLY Flyers, this PHLY Flyers postgame is brought to you by our pals over at Mortgage CS. And that's right there. You can text or call Ben, the CEO of Mortgage CS. It doesn't even have to be about buying a house. You can text him right now. Why the hell didn't Torts put out TK in the shootout? You will get an answer. That just goes to show you what kind of customer service Mortgage CS provides. Mortgage CS stands for Mortgage Concierge Service, because that's what they're all about. They like to think of themselves as a white glove service, almost a mortgage butler service for you. And Charlie can attest to this when he's actually, sitting next to me. He and I both bought houses in the last couple of years. And listen, it all turned out fine. It was all great. Maybe he's the one, he's not married, so he probably had to do all the work himself. Thank God I am married, because I didn't do a damn thing except watch Ava do all the work, and it seemed like an extraordinary amount of time and effort. Because we don't know we don't know anything. We were 30-something trying to buy our first house. Like, I have no savings. It was a process to get from the point we were to the point where we were ready to buy a house and ready to get approved, make an offer, close the deal, move in, all of that stuff. It's a ton of work. And if you're not maybe involved in the business in some way, it might not be work that you're capable or willing to do. That's where Mortgage CS comes in handy. I wish I knew about Mortgage CS when I was buying a home. And if you're not quite there, but you're thinking, down the line, would like to own a home. Everyone tells me I'm throwing away money with rent. It's true. If you're not quite ready, but you want to know how to get yourself ready, so it's not like, okay, I'm ready to buy a house, let me go look at one, and oh, damn, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. They will tell you the steps you need to take to get ready to buy a house, everything you want. They are a full-service company, Mortgage CS, and you can call Ben Stucker right now, 267-391-7425. If you have questions about a mortgage, if you have questions about what the hell John Tortorella was doing tonight, he'll answer your texts. All right, that's I think we've fulfilled our obligation there. I went on that long enough. While we're on the subject of Travis Konecny, because honestly, I want to talk about all the bad shit with Charlie, because I'm just trying to really, this is how the game, my takeaway from the first 40 minutes of this game was Flyers are not playing great, but my God, Columbus is terrible. And somehow Columbus just kind of kept themselves in this game. Daniil Tarasov, despite his horrible career numbers, his horrible season numbers, he comes in and plays awesome. Only TK was able to beat him. Just a very annoying game to lose, especially if you're kind of all in on the let's make the playoffs thing, because they've already won too many games to probably get a top 3 pick. But let's talk about All-Star Travis Konecny, named to his second All-Star game tonight, maybe just before. Yeah, there it is right there. It was like just before the game started, or maybe after it had already gotten underway. But he is named an All-Star for the Eastern Conference, and scored the first goal of the game, scored both goals tonight. That top line, for all of the issues I have with the team right now, the top line ain't one of them. It's almost to a point where I'm trying to think of other combinations to create with these guys, because they're really good, and maybe just having those three is the only way that this team's going to sustain any offense. And it's like, all right, let's just kind of throw this line at him and hope the other three can stay above water. Was not the case tonight, but with Farabee and Couturier, Travis Konecny has taken his game to another level. 20 goals on the season. Did he get to 21, or is he still at, was the second one number 20 tonight? I really hate the new NHL.com. It legitimately sucks, but he's got 20 goals already. We're not halfway through the season. He has been excellent, and just really showing what the second level of development can look like. I know I want to talk about Owen Tippett in a little bit. We're looking at Owen Tippett, and they showed some of his advanced, some of those NHL edge stats tonight, where it's like all of his shots, his shot velocity, his skating velocity. He's top. He's 95th percentile, and all these stats. You would think maybe he's the one with 20 goals. No, he has 12. Maybe it's going to take a little longer than we were hoping, but we're hoping for right now. But I just see like, okay, Travis Konecny can maybe be that blueprint for a second level of development. Like you get there and then you enter your prime and you continue to get even better as TK has done. But just looking at what this top line is right now with Konecny and Farabee and Couturier, man, Farabee and Konecny have really developed tremendous chemistry. And I'm going to ask Charlie about this because he tweeted about it. You know, we were a couple of weeks ago saying, man, Farabee and Bobby Brink, they just have some damn good chemistry. It's looking like that's a duo you want to keep together. Maybe Farabee just has awesome hockey sense and knows where to be, because it was, you know, with Brink, obviously not a shoot first kind of guy. It's Brink setting up Farabee, and now suddenly Farabee playing with a natural goal scorer in Travis Konecny. It's Farabee setting up TK. So it's been really good, this group. I wonder if just something to get the depth going. Maybe you put Brink with Farabee and Coots because you've seen that work before with Farabee and Brink, like I'm just saying. Maybe you get Frost back in the lineup and put him with TK and either Tippett or Forster, one of the two. Whatever it is, just to have a little bit of secondary scoring, because right now it's one line and it's basically one guy. It's Travis Konecny, and obviously Farabee's had a big part in it. I don't want to downplay that, but maybe just something to get somebody else going, because you're not going to win like this. You just played Columbus, who didn't look like they were going to get to 20 shots on goal for half of this game, and then suddenly they win. That's not good enough. It's just simply not good enough. Have to figure something out, and it goes along with some of the lineup decisions that John Tortorella made tonight. Frost, a scratch. Atkinson, a scratch. Now, we've been talking about Cam Atkinson and his prolonged slump at this point. No goals, 4 assists in his last 22 games. That is after he had 8 goals and 4 assists in his first 15 games. So he has just fallen off an absolute cliff. He was taking a ton of penalties. He just looked slow. We've been talking about Cam Atkinson coming out of the lineup. Morgan Frost, well, obviously you got to bench Frost. Team hasn't looked good, so you hit the bench Frost, default button basically for John Tortorella. Listen, Frost hasn't been awesome since Noah Cates has been out. When I saw it was both of them, I was like, oh, so Noah Cates is back. And even when you came in tonight, you're like, oh, so how's Cates looked? I was like, no, they went with 11 forwards, JP. Like, hard to believe, but yeah, coming back, first game back from a long road trip. Let's have a short bench. Let's go with short number of forwards. But Frost, like, in the 16 games and now 17 games that Noah Cates has been out, 3 goals, 4 assists. It's his 11th time being scratched this year. That's probably too many, but he hasn't been very good. But when I'm looking at a team that cannot score a goal, Frost has a chance to create something. And taking him out of the lineup just to go with 11 forwards and putting in Rhett Gardner, who has 4 points in 21 AHL games this year, that's just a horrible decision. I have been on board with a lot of what John Tortorella has done this year. I thought, he's been telling us the adversity is coming. This team's going to lose some games. He created adversity for no reason tonight. Oh, yeah, let's long road trip, first game back. Everyone's been sick. Let's go with 11 forwards. That's fucking stupid. I don't have any other words for it. Delorier finds his way back in. So, oh yeah, well, he doesn't score at all. He contributes nothing on offense. Rhett Gardner contributes nothing on offense. Ryan Poehling, I'm a big fan. Can we actually say he's like a top 6 guy? Ryan Poehling was their second center off the bench in 3-on-3 overtime. Now, the man can skate. He certainly can. Are we convincing ourselves he's a top 6 forward somehow? Because that's not on the table. Mm-hmm. Maybe he develops into a third liner. I'm skeptical of that. The idea that he's your second center off the bench in overtime, 3-on-3, that's a ridiculous decision. I just did not like what they did with the lineup tonight. And if it's going to be, Well, Cam Atkinson stinks, so he can't play every night. Morgan Frost, we're going to continue to mess with him. He's going to be in and out of the lineup. They have to call somebody up. They have to bring in somebody who isn't just what did it end up being tonight for I think it was like 7 minutes for Rhett Gardner tonight. Rhett Gardner, 7:10 on ice to go along with 7:28 for Nick Delorier. Or no, Delorier played 7:10. Rhett Gardner played 7:28. What is the point of this? Like, have somebody, whether it's Samu Tuilaumala, whether it's Tanner Lazinski, Cooper Marody. Bring up Cooper Marody. He leads the Phantoms in scoring. At least he's played in the NHL before. Bring in someone who might contribute rather than Rhett Gardner, who has no chance. I just... I could listen to Bill attempt to read ads all day. I barely read from that one. The Mortgage CS one isn't even a read. It's just like, here's a couple of things and just talk about it. But no, I just did not understand the lineup tonight. I guess, okay, Mark Stahl's goal last game, so he stays in the lineup. So maybe you want to go with 7 defensemen because you know you can't play Stahl that much. But if he can only play, what was it tonight? Where'd he go? Mark Stahl, 11:59, 12 minutes, was actually more than I expected. I guessed he'd play about 10. So 12 minutes, like, what's the point? You're not putting the guys in the best possible position to win. Now, they could have had 12 they could have had 12 forwards tonight. They could have had Samu Tuilaumala in the lineup. Whatever. And still lost this game because they're just struggling bad offensively right now.
So, Bill, let's ask something here, because one thing we did know coming back from the West Coast trip, the Disey on Ice trip, fatigue was an issue, right? There was some type of illness going on. Watching the game here today, obviously they had a 1-0 lead for most of it, and you talked about it. Columbus shots on goal in the third period were atrocious. You saw a Travis Konecny moment in the third period. He's ailing on the boards there. So how much of this is fatigue? Because I'm with you. The Rhett Gardner one, I came up to you. I was like, why?
Who is this guy? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I truly, no, that's the part of it that is annoying me. It's like we know all these things about the team. You've told us the team is sick. Some guys are banged up. Why are we purposefully handicapping ourselves? Let's go with 11 forwards, and 2 of them we don't trust to play 10 minutes. All right, you went with 9 forwards tonight. Congratulations, you played with 3 lines and you lost. Like, and the dudes who are in there, like, again, Garnet Hathaway, love him. Not going to score a goal for you probably. Scott Lawton, big fan. He's been terrible offensively this season. I just named 4 out of your 9 guys. Like, I'm kind of baffled by the lineup decisions tonight. Maybe Charlie, when he does join us, will have some answers. But right now, let me tell you about FOCO, baby. FOCO is the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Whether you're looking for team apparel for the season ahead, they've got overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, anything you need for game day. Maybe you need some accessories, toys, or collectibles for your man cave, she shed, or podcast set. You've got to use FOCO for all your team gear needs. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in the description of this show. And for all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10. That's PHLY10 for 10% off at FOCO today. If you haven't yet, it's probably not that hard to find. I need you to go to my Twitter. Watch the video I made of the ugly Eagles sweater. Tremendous stuff over at FOCO. And as you know, I have a personal vendetta against one of the other officially licensed gear sites. And I guarantee you, your experience with FOCO will be better than them. Let's not name names. Because I don't think I'm even supposed to say what I just said, but it's Flyers postgame. Do you think FOCO's listening? Maybe they are. Who's to say? But thank you all for listening. I'm not signing off. I'm just thanking everyone who is here after that stupid-ass game we just watched, because that's what it was. It was stupid. It was, at least when it was boring for the first 2/3, was like, well, okay, the Flyers are going to win a boring game. And then somehow they give up a couple of weird goals, and it's tied, and they get through overtime. They had a couple of nice chances, controlled overtime, but never really got it going. And I thought that Ersson magic was going to carry over into the shootout, but he goes up against Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny lights the lamp, and that's all it took because Flyers were unable to score in the shootout. But just back to these lineup decisions, like, we already know this team can't score. They're 8th for the whole season, 8th from the bottom in goals per game at 2.92. On the road trip, they average 2.5 goals a game. They scored more than 3 goals just 3 times in the last 10. How does dressing Rhett Gardner help you? How do these lineup decisions help? Now, if you want as well, Morgan Frost has been in for all those games. Okay, then take Frost out. But then call up somebody who might have a chance of scoring a goal. A Samu Tuamala, a Tanner Lazinski, an Ollie Lixell, Cooper Marody, whoever. Just someone who might be able to contribute offensively. And honestly, just leave Morgan Frost in. Just leave him in. He's gonna create some offense. And I am the person, I don't believe Morgan Frost is going to be here in the long term. I don't think he's that good, quite honestly. If he goes and makes a real nice career for himself somewhere else after he leaves, tip my cap to him. I don't think it's gonna happen. But we just for now, especially while you don't have Noah Cates, leave him in. He's better than Rhett Gardner. I just don't understand some of these decisions. But since we're making them, how long until Tyson Forster finds himself in the press box? Now, I'm not saying Tyson Forster is my number one go-to guy here. Oh, get him out of there. He stinks. No, I'm just saying no goals, 4 assists in his last 13 games now after tonight. But he got a shootout attempt. Good for him. Didn't score. Maybe that would be a reason to keep him in. Maybe that's why he got the opportunity tonight. He's the next one on the list. And Tortorella was like, give me a reason not to sit you. Of course he didn't. I know he's Tortorella's boy. So is Cam Atkinson. Didn't play tonight. Delorier, last game. Didn't play. Stahl has barely played. Even when he does dress, he doesn't play all that much. He's the number 7 when there's 7 defensemen. Tortorella has shown this year a willingness to scratch the guys he likes. He also has shown a willingness 11 times to scratch Morgan Frost, which is, of course, very funny. But I just don't get what the point of what they're doing lineup-wise is, and it's one thing when you can't score against a really good team. All right, there are really good defensive teams in this league. There are really good goalies in this league. The Columbus Blue Jackets do not fall into either of those categories. Daniil Tarasov tonight came in with a goals against average of 4.02 and a save percentage of .877 this season, and it's .373 and .896 for his career. He is a below-average goaltender. That's what he is. Tonight, he was amazing against the Flyers. Columbus gives up 3.67 goals a game. That's the 3rd most in the NHL. They also give up the 3rd most shots. The Flyers got a ton of shots, but Tarasov closed the door. Maybe it's just, some goalies have those nights. No. If you are an actual playoff contender, don't let those nights be against you. Yeah, against the Flyers of last year, the last 2 years, you can go, it just wasn't their night. Sometimes the goalie's better than you expect. No, I do not accept that excuse this season. Just not something I'm willing to tip my cap to Daniil Tarasov, who stinks. Score on him. And that's what I wanted to get to with Owen Tippett tonight. Obviously, Owen Tippett was one of the Flyers' standouts. He ended the game with, he actually didn't have a shot on goal in the 3rd period, but ended the game with 7 shots on goal, another 2 attempts that got blocked, and 4 that missed. So that's 11, 12, 13 13 shot attempts for Owen Tippett tonight. Nice. You're making an impact. You were all over the place. You took the puck to the net a few times. Almost had a disaster taking the puck to the net. I think that was in overtime when he went into the boards and no one could find it. Yeah, thank you for working your ass off out there, Tippett. But you're one of the dudes. You're one of the dudes who have to score if this team's going to make the playoffs. It can't be, okay, he's coming along. Like, your development, at least the first stage of your development, is over. You're a first or second line player for this team, and you need to produce as such. He's just not. He just isn't right now. 12 goals is a nice total. He's going to finish the year with 27 or whatever it is. He'll get hot a couple more times and hit the exact number he hit last year. But he needs to be better. He needs to be better if this team is going to be what we thought they were a couple years ago, and that's ahead of schedule. Because right now is the worst case scenario. Right now, it's Couturier, Konecny, and the goalie carrying you. And we said all along, if it's the young guys contributing, if it's dudes who are going to be here long-term contributing, hey, man, if they don't get a top pick and make the playoffs because of that, that's fine. If it's the veterans and the goalies just killing it for you, that's not enough. That's not enough to justify what they're doing this season. So, and it's not enough of a reason to consider keeping Travis Konecny. If this team's legitimately 5 years away, yeah, you got to trade TK. And I really don't want to do that now because that dude has ascended to another level. If they are, and I hate to use this time frame because it's become such a joke, only 2 or 3 years away, though, you can justify keeping TK. But what I'm seeing right now, nah, you can't justify it. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Where else do we want to get to? Scott Laughton. Oof. Another rough one for Scotty. I think he ended -2 with a penalty late in the third. Is that what it ended up being? Where'd you go, Scott Laughton? Yeah, -2 and 4 penalty minutes. That's not going to do it. He's not the guy who scored 18 goals last year. That's why a lot of people said you really need to sell high, and it was a huge early mistake of the Danny Briere era to not trade him. Also a mistake of Chuck Fletcher maybe at the deadline not to trade him. But you had the opportunity. Obviously, the reports are out there. They're all for the first-round pick for Laughton. They didn't take it. This might end up being a pretty big mistake because what we've seen out of him this year has just been nowhere close. We all knew he wasn't that guy, right? Like, he scored 18 goals. That's not Scott Laughton. And again, big fan. Early in his career, I just didn't know what he was. And then he had a 3, 4, 5-year period where it was like, I don't know where in the lineup, but he's got a place on my team. And then last year, just absolutely kills it. We all knew he wasn't that. But now, dude, the team is not good when he's on the ice. And you can say his line mates might have something to do with it. It's not as if Delorier or Hathaway are exactly all-stars. Obviously, I think Tyson Forster got some shifts with him tonight. He's a nice player, but nowhere near a finished product, obviously. The team is worse when Scott Laughton is on the ice, and that has to be concerning for everyone, especially considering the opportunity you had at last year's deadline and the opportunity you had at the draft to trade him, and you didn't pull the trigger. I wonder if Tortorella, that's going to be the big test. He sat Cam Atkinson, he sat Nick Delorier, sat Mark Stahl, but these are veteran guys playing poorly who aren't going to be here in the long run anyway. Scotty Laughton is the only, and we know he's the only guy wearing a letter out there. He is the culture setter. He's been demoted already. He's been playing fourth line minutes for a couple of weeks. Will he come out of the lineup? It's going to be interesting to see. Will he come down? I wonder if maybe instead of benching him, they just go, he's banged up a little. Like, rather than say it's a healthy scratch situation, Maybe they protect him a little with a, he took a hit and he's a little banged up. He's going to miss 2 games or whatever, miss a game. I don't know if that's the answer. Like, bench Scott Laughton, fix everything. I don't know if that's the answer, but it does come down to, as we've said a lot with John Tortorella, if you're going to be the accountability guy, if you're going to be the one that preaches, everyone has to do their job, everyone has to do what I'm asking of them, or they're not going to like their ice time. Can't imagine John Tortorella has seen a ton out of Scott Laughton that it justifies his ice time. I will say, I want to get to at least some sort of bright spot here. Samuel Ersson, despite not being perfect in the shootout, and despite giving up, the goals that allowed the lead to go from 2-0 to 2-2, Ersson was damn good again tonight, and this is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. Carter Hart got the last start pre-Christmas break. We all remember the Detroit game. Gives up 5 in the first. Really shut it down after that, but gave up that extremely unfortunate 6th goal to send the game to overtime. Since then, Ersson has started 3 of the 5 since Christmas break. Again, not a back-to-back situation. They don't play again until Saturday afternoon. Not a spot where you would think the backup needs to go in. Not an obvious backup spot tonight. And it's Samuel Ersson, and he was pretty damn good. I will definitely give him, I wonder when we do Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game, I'm looking forward to seeing if he includes Samuel Ersson, because even with, I have to imagine all 3 are going to be Flyers. It would be tough to say, like, oh no, Daniil Columbus's goalie. I can't say his name right now. He's probably going to get one. We're going to have 2 Flyers, I would think, in the 3 stars of the game. You would assume TK is one of them. Maybe he goes Farabee. He is in love with Farabee right now. That's going to be my guess. It's Tarasov, Farabee, Konecny for 3 stars of the game. But I want to know what he thinks of Samuel Ersson tonight and what this split has become, because Kid's been good. Kid has been really, really good, and it appears as if the second half of the season, at least based on what we have seen to this point, and it's only been 5 games, but it appears to this point, this is going to become a tandem and not a Carter Hart up here, back up down here. No, Samuel Ersson, and I keep saying his name because I know I'm on a good roll saying it correctly. It looks like he's, if not pushing for the starter spot, at least redefining what the goalie status is right now. It's went from, Carter's number 1, and that's clear cut, to got a little bit of a competition. It's not a controversy, but it is a competition, and the dude playing better is the dude who's going to be in there. I think Carter Hart, outside of the Detroit game, has been fine lately. But if you look at his numbers over the last 5 or 6, compare him to Ersson's over the last 5 or 6, Sam's been better. So Sam's going to get at least half of the starts, and I like this. I like what they're doing. They're not just giving it to Hart. It's the first time Hart has really had any sort of competition since they brought him up. Any sort of, you might not be the guy. Like, even when it was 100-year-old Brian Elliott, or they bring in Cam Talbot, and it's like, Cam Talbot left because he wants to go start somewhere, or at least wants to play more than 1 out of every 4. And last year with Felix Sandstrom, they did not seem to want to put him in for any reason whatsoever. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to go. We have Charlie. This TV might be on mute. Is it okay? Charlie, we are joined now by Philadelphia's number 1 hockey beat reporter. It is Charlie O'Connor. You got me, Chuck?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yes.
It's doing the shows on StreamYard. I almost forget that, like, it's going to be a little different when I'm back in studio. But here you are, Charlie, and what a night to be here Travis Konecny named an all-star, Cutter Gauthier, game winner to send his team to the gold medal round, and everything else around the Flyers is on fire. So I want to start. I want to start tonight with the lineup decisions because that's what I've been going on about for a lot of this. Now, I understand Cam Atkinson coming out of this lineup. He has not been good lately. No goals, 4 assists in his last 22 games. Had 8 goals in the first 15. He has fallen off a cliff. But we know that this team is either sick or getting over being sick. We know that coming home from a long road trip, that first game back, a lot of coaches say it's the hardest part of a road trip is your first game back, actually. Why would the coach intentionally hinder his team by going with 11 forwards?
Bill, it's an extremely good question because it's absolutely a valid criticism. I thought the decision to go 11 forward, and not just to go 11 forward, but to go these 11 forward was misguided from the start. And I think it burned them because you look at it, okay, you're coming back from a long trip. Guys are sick. Guys are tired. And we asked Travis Konecny after the game. He basically said, look, every game's tough right now, and that's fair. But this was an especially difficult one, and it's against a team that you really should beat. Columbus isn't that good. So you go 11 forward. You have Brett Gardner, who had 4 points in 21 games in the AHL this season, and Nick Delorier, who you scratched the last game and who has, I think, 3 points in 36 games this year. So in the third period, I guess understandably, you don't play them. Brett Gardner gets 1 shift in the third. Nick Delorier gets 0 shifts in the third. So that means the entire third period, you're playing with 9 guys. Coming back from a road trip with guys getting over the flu. Look, I understand scratching Cam Atkinson. I don't agree with them scratching Morgan Frost, but I'm not going to say that Morgan Frost has been setting the world on fire. He hasn't been. But did you need to scratch both of them in this game? Could you just have scratched one, kept the other in? Or alternatively, could you maybe have called someone up who is a little bit better than 4 points in 21 AHL games, Brett Gardner, who maybe you do trust to take more than 1 shift in the third period? To me, this was needlessly putting your team in a bad position. Coming back from a trip, I mean, and take a look at the ice time numbers. Travis Konecny finishes with 26 minutes, 26-18. That's nuts. And it was unnecessary. They didn't have to do it. And look, Travis Konecny was on tonight. He was flying. I get it. You want to ride your guys. But 26 minutes, you wouldn't have had to do that if you didn't go to 9 forwards in the third period. And that was a decision that you yourself put yourself in the position to have to make because Brett Gardner's not an NHL player and Nick Delorier is just a fighter. Like, you end up having to go with 9 forwards in the third. You give up a 2-goal lead in the third. Like, I wonder if these two things might be connected. Joel Farabee straight up admitted after the game, he said, I thought we played a pretty good game, but we didn't attack as much as we should have in the third. Is it possible that if they're rolling 4 lines instead of 3, maybe they would have had that little bit more energy to be able to attack in the third, get another goal, put this game away? It's impossible to know for sure, but it couldn't have hurt. To me, and I'm not saying he was the only person at fault here, but this was a poorly planned game by John Tortorella. Like, I don't think he deserves the entirety of the blame for the loss, but he deserves a not insignificant share of it.
No, I'm right there. Listen, I have sung the praises of John Tortorella this season, given him a ton of credit. I think right now he should be the favorite to win the Jack Adams Award. He keeps telling us that adversity and losses are coming. Well, damn it, if they're not, I'm going to create them. Seems to be what he decided tonight. And like the Delorier and Gardner thing, like, that's okay. You also have Hathaway. I love him. He ain't scoring. Scott Lawton, I love him. He's been an offensive black hole this year. You only have so many guys with even a chance of scoring a goal. Like, you came in 8th from the bottom in goals per game this year. They averaged 2.5 goals on the road trip. They've scored more than 3 goals just 3 times in the last 10. How does Brett Gardner help you? Like, if this is what we're going to do, if we're going to go, well, Cam stinks, so he can't play every night. Morgan Frost, bench him 11 times. That makes sense, even with no Noah Cates still. They have to call someone up. I don't care if it's Cooper Marody, if it's Samu Tuomala. They have to call up somebody who has a chance of scoring. Like, you had 2 guys in the lineup tonight with 11 forwards play less than 7.5 minutes. How can you win this way? I'm very, very annoyed by these decisions. A decision I started off the show talking about, and it's not on the level of these other lineup decisions we discussed, Charlie, but the only guy on this team who can score is Travis Konecny. He's been excellent, 20 goals, 2 of them tonight. He seems to know how to put the puck behind Daniil Tarasov. No one else does. How is it that Sean Couturier and 2 rookies are the ones chosen for the shootout and not the only guy on the team who can actually score?
So I don't think Travis Konecny in his career has been very good at the shootout. I truthfully, this is me going by memory. I don't know where I can pull up shootout records. I actually tried to look like individual player shootout records. I tried to do it while we were downstairs. Couldn't find it. If anybody can point me a site that allows for me to check and see how players have done historically in the shootout, please do that because I don't know where to look. That said, look, Konecny was on tonight, and I would not have had a problem had, even if Konecny does, by my memory, have a bad record in shootouts. You say, you know what? He's flying tonight. He just scored on a semi-breakaway earlier in this game. He's been our best player. He deserves a shot to show that he can get the sort of hat trick via the shootout. I'd have no problem with it. The reason why I can't get too mad about it, number one, I have a perception, which could be wrong, but I have a perception that he historically hasn't been good in shootouts. But second, I just view the shootout as more or less a crapshoot anyway. So it's hard for me to get angry about, like, unless you do something so egregious, like, I don't know, pick like Nick Delorier to go out there and do a shootout. Like, beyond that, it's hard for me to get too angry about those types of things. But I did gather that a lot of people on social media were really angry about that after the game. So, you know what? Sure. The Flyers lost. It was a frustrating loss. They lost to a really bad team. This is the kind of game where I totally understand why fans are ticked off.
No, he's 2 for 17 in his career.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's not good.
That's about
and
it's not good.
I knew his career numbers weren't good. It's just like the man scores a lot on the rush, right? That's something we've talked about all year. Like skating towards the goalie, he's pretty good. He scored 2 already. No one else scored any. It just seems like tonight is the night. Throw him out there rather than Sean Couturier, who has 1 move, and he didn't do it tonight, and it didn't go in, and then 2 rookies. Like, I started yelling about it to start the show, and I had to calm myself down because I'm like, this wasn't top 5 dumbest things I saw tonight, but it did very much annoy me. But you're right. It's not something we should go nuts about. However, come on. Get the only guy who can score out there. What else did I want to talk to you about tonight, Charlie? All right, let's talk about what we're seeing from Samuel Ersson. Now, I think it's very, very interesting. Now, we all remember Carter Hart got that final start before the Christmas break in that Detroit game. They just needed to get him in there. He got lit up in the first, gave up that horrible goal in the third, was pretty good in between, but we all know what that was. Since the Christmas break, Ersson has started 3 of the 5 games. Obviously, pretty small sample size, but he's been good. He's been really good in the time he's been given. Is this becoming 50-50? I know this is recurring. We could ask this question every single show, and I do, but we keep getting more data points.
I don't think it's 50-50. I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to eventually go out as Hart getting more starts than Ersson. That said, I mean, the fact that Ersson got the start was notable. It was notable that he did, and I thought Ersson played a good game. I don't think he was incredible, but he played a good game. We talked to him after the game. It did appear that second goal, I'm not even sure who it deflected off of, but it definitely deflected off of someone. Yeah, somebody got it. You guys probably watch a ton more replays on it than we did, because that's one thing people do have to understand about, like, when I'm at the game, I watch it in real time. I look up at the TV to see the immediate replays. So if, like, the broadcast then 5 minutes later goes back and slows it down frame by frame, like, you guys are going to have a better read on what happened than I did. So don't yell at me on Twitter when I still don't know exactly who touched the puck. That said, It was clear that it went off of something because it clearly changed direction. So I'm not going to give him any grief for that one. He straight up said, though, he wishes he would have stopped the first one. I don't think that was a soft goal, but it was stoppable. And if you stop that one, then that happens right after you go up 2-0. Maybe the entire complexion of this game changes. Ersson's been good. I don't think I'm being I don't think I'm using hyperbole by saying he's been good. I don't think he has been amazing, incredible, you need to take the starting goalie job away from Carter Hart good, but I think he's looked like a good shell goalie. And that's a great development for the Flyers. So I don't know. I've heard for too long from this organization that Carter Hart is our number one. They've said it all season. I am not ready to say, nope, Ersson's the guy now because of, a stretch of 5 starts at the end of December into early January. But it's clear Ersson's taken a bigger piece of the pie, and I think that's a good thing for the Flyers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not calling it a controversy, but it does appear to be a competition. Like, Carter Hart is really good if it does come down to a competition to see who starts 55, 60% of the games. He could very well win it. In fact, I'd probably bet him to. But I like that it's maybe going to be a little bit more that rather than, oh yeah, Hart starts 3 out of 4, no questions asked. I want to get to the top line because they are the only group of players who I'm not currently just being like, what do you do here? What is it that so Travis Konecny, named an all-star. Joel Farabee has been really good. They're centered by Sean Couturier. That line is the only one producing at this point. Is it to the point where you need to think about breaking them up? Because my idea right now is like, maybe you put Brink with Farabee and Coots because we saw some chemistry with Farabee and Brink earlier. Maybe you get TK with Frost and then one of the Tippett and Forster guys. See if you can get one of those lines going. Because as it is right now, this is a one-line team.
Yeah, and again, the Flyers aren't doing themselves any favors in terms of making themselves a one-line team when, look at it. Look at it right now. And look, again, I'm not saying Morgan Frost has been incredible. But what are the lines they essentially threw out here tonight? You had the Sean Couturier line, which was great. They scored all the goals. They did all the things. You had another line centered by Ryan Poehling, who, since he was moved into the top 9, has like an expected goal share of around 35% at even strength. Like, his line is getting killed. It's getting killed. He's not a top 9 center. So then there you have one line center by him. That line ain't going to score much. And then you got the other line center by Scott Laughton, who's been struggling pretty much all season. So you're putting yourself in position where, of course, you're going to only be a one-line team because you bench the only other center that has actually has facilitated the ability to control play. So no shit, you're only going to be a one-line team. That's on the Flyers. Now, granted, part of this is out of their control in that and granted, tonight it was in their control because they benched him. They expected Cam Atkinson, if he was able to come back healthy, to be a bigger contributor than he's been. Cam Atkinson has been a 0 for over a month now. So that's hurting the scoring depth. Obviously, Noah Cates being out, and even before he went down, he wasn't what they expected him to be this season. But I think he was eventually going to come out of the slump he was in pre-injury. Him being hurt has hurt them. But to me, this is less of an issue. Like, look, they may have to break up that top line because right now, Couturier, Konecny, and Farabee are your 3 best forwards. They just are. They're your 3 best forwards. But before you go about breaking them up, I try to put the guys that aren't on that top line in slightly more conducive positions to succeed. I don't know. Just a thought.
I fully agree with you. Listen, I have given up on Morgan Frost. I don't think he's going to be part of the future. I don't care, but I don't care about his development. But right now, Ryan Poehling was the second center off the bench in overtime tonight. It went Sean Couturier, and then he was replaced by fucking Ryan Poehling, who I have enjoyed this year. Maybe he can develop into a third liner. If he's your second center, you're not going to win many games. This is, it's mind-boggling to me right now. Now, we have discussed Owen Tippett a lot. I know that you're going to say to me, that's goal scorers. They're streaky. I say that all the time. And even when I get frustrated, I say it to myself. 7 shots on goal. I think he ended up with 13 attempts or something tonight. He's everywhere. Is there something he can do other than just like keep firing and hope they go in? Like, is there something you're seeing that's like, yeah, he needs to do a little more X if he's actually going to score?
Well, I do think that a lot of it is just keep firing. Eventually, some of these shots are going to go in because I do believe he has a plus shot. It's not as good as it maybe looked in juniors. We've seen a large enough sample. I'm confident enough to believe that like he's not a 13, 14% shooter, true talent at the NHL level. I guess he just doesn't have the deceptiveness to allow him to take full advantage of the velocity and the accuracy of his shot. The accuracy's been a little bit off this year, but the velocity is certainly still there. He can certainly still bomb it. He just isn't scoring as much as you would think someone with his shooting ability would be scoring, and maybe that's just never going to come around. That said, I do think he's going to score more than he has so far this year. After not getting a goal off of 7 shots on goal, he's probably in the low 9s right now. I think he's probably more of a true talent, 10 or 11% shooter, and I think that will come around. That'll regress a bit. However, I do think that there has been an element of his game that's maybe been missing over the last few weeks. Honestly, most of the season, but especially the last few weeks, I don't think he is playing enough of a power forward game. That was really the big change he made in the second half of last season, where he was taking more pucks directly to the net rather than just shooting from anywhere. It was let me carry this puck to the net and try to create a rebound or try to score a goal the way Travis Konecny did in the third period of this game. Just take it to the net, and sometimes good things happen. Travis Konecny straight up said he did not mean to send it through the 5-hole. He just lost control of the puck, and hey, take the puck to the net. Sometimes you get lucky because the puck is in a dangerous area and the goalies are trying to account for what you might do. I don't think Tippett's done that enough. I'd like to see him do more of it. I do think that the shooting regression is coming, but if you combine shooting regression with getting a couple more, not even garbage goals, but a couple more power goals, let's call them, then maybe Owen Tippett looks a little bit more like the player we were hoping we were going to get this season.
A couple more minutes here with Charlie O'Connor down at the Wells Fargo Center. Not going to keep you all night, Charlie, but a few more things I want to talk to you about. Scotty Laughton, -2 tonight. Third period hooking penalty, 4 penalty minutes in total. He really looked to me as if he was starting to turn it around a bit on at the end of that trip, the last few games. Not good tonight. We've seen John Tortorella kind of veer from just the playing his favorites game. Mark Stahl's barely played this year. Even when he's dressed, he doesn't play that much. Cam Atkinson sat tonight. That's his boy. Nick Delorier sat last game. He's one of the culture setters. Do you think it could be Scott Laughton soon?
Look, the fact that last game Delorier got scratched, this game Atkinson got scratched, yeah, I think Tortorella's sending a message that I don't have any sacred cows. I think that's fair to say. That said, he still couldn't help himself. He had to press the Morgan Frost button because he wouldn't be John Tortorella if he didn't also press the Morgan Frost button because he just loves to do it. He loves to be like, oh, well, things are going bad. Bench Morgan Frost. That's the solution. But I do think that it's fair to say that Delorier's scratch shows that the players we thought were untouchable maybe aren't so untouchable. The thing with Laughton that does give him more lineup security than I think people want to accept is that he is such a big part of that penalty kill. Like, he is the guy on the duo with Konecny. That is the duo that creates the shorthanded goals. And that's been such a big part of this team, especially because, yet again, this power play can't do shit. They almost have to rely upon the penalty kill to be the momentum creator that the power play cannot be this year. And I think that probably plays into why Laughton hasn't been sat yet, is because he's such an integral part of that PK. He has such good chemistry with Travis Konecny on that penalty kill. Like, it wouldn't shock me if John Tortorella a couple times has thought about it and Brad Shaw's came in and be like, I can't. Like, you can't take Scott Laughton away from me. He's too important in this penalty kill. And Torts is like, okay, you know what? Fine. I'll give you lots. But I do think we're getting to the point where, yeah, maybe Laughton may take a seat. He hasn't had a good year. I don't think he's been, like, maybe as bad as some people think he's been. Like, if you look at his total points, they're really not that far off from his point pace over the last 3, 4, or 5 years, aside from last year when he was getting played like a second liner, which was never going to happen again. Like, his point pace was going to go down. The two things that have dropped off dramatically from him this year are goals. He just ain't scoring goals. He has 3. That's pretty bad. And then his two-way play is dipped off. Like he's taken too many bad penalties. He's been involved in too many blown coverages. They're not driving play to the degree they used to with Scott Lawton on the ice. So there's been a drop off. I don't necessarily think there's been so much of a drop off that you need to rush to get him out of the lineup. And it helps his case that he's certainly not the only guy who's struggling right now. Like as underwhelming as Lawton has been, Cam Atkinson has been measurably worse, and that more speaks to how poor Cam Atkinson has been than the fact that Lawton's been great. But I do think that Lawton could certainly be a candidate for a scratch in the relatively near future, especially if John Tortorella he just seems like he's in a scratching mood. He seems like he's just feeling it. He's getting a little trigger happy, and I don't know if anybody's really safe at this point.
He's feeling like, okay, I got to punish somebody. And it's just like, well, my least favorite son is Morgan Frost. So he's one. Who's two? Doesn't matter how many guys we got. We're just whatever. Charlie, we're going to get to your 3 stars. I just have to say, I wanted to describe this game as Reservoir Dogs simply because for 2/3 of it was just a bunch of guys sitting in a room bullshitting. And then at the end, everyone had their guns pulled on each other and it was madness. And right now, with your suit jacket and your white shirt and you look like you're in an empty room with an interrogation light, you are Reservoir Dogs. So thank you for bringing this visual together for me. It's the most entertaining part of the game. Now, without further ado, it is time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars. Let's lead it off with star number 3.
Sure. So star number 3, I will go with one Joel Farabee, who I thought, obviously, he didn't score any of the goals, but especially the first goal that Konecny scored, just a fantastic pass from Joel Farabee. And even the second goal, that's more of an individual effort from Konecny, but Farabee leads him with a really, really good pass to get him open in space. To me, and I tweeted this out during the game, I was very much on board with the idea of never break up Joel Farabee and Bobby Brink. They have great chemistry. Keep those guys together. Now he's with Travis Konecny, and they're showcasing pretty much the exact same chemistry. And at some point, you got to look at it and you say, did Joel Farabee really have great chemistry with Bobby Brink, or does Joel Farabee have great chemistry with all good offensive players at this point? It honestly might be the latter. I think Joel Farabee, I've been praising him pretty much from the start of the season, but now that he's finally on the top line, I think everybody who just looks at the box score is starting to see that Joel Farabee is legitimately taking a leap this year. So he's my star number 3.
Let's go to star number 2.
Star number 2 is your all-star, Travis Konecny. Obviously, he was named an all-star tonight, second all-star appearance of his career. 2 goals, all the offense the Flyers had. The second goal was, a power move to the net. And this is a 5'10" guy who's pretty small, and he's just like, nah, I'm gonna put my head down. I'm gonna go straight at the net and see what happens. And first goal is just him putting himself in the right spot, making himself open for a pass, and then burying it. Look, Konecny had 26 minutes played tonight. He was even more than Couturier, he was the team's horse tonight. He was the guy who they pretty much tried to ask to carry them to a victory. Wasn't quite able to pull it off, but he came darn close. So Travis Konecny, 2nd star.
All right, now I guessed what your 1 Columbus star was going to be, and I think that's where you're going, but I'm holding out that you do something a little special here. Star number 1.
No, I'm going with Daniel Tarasov. I mean, 39 saves on 41 shots, doesn't give up a goal in the shootout. I'm not saying that all of the shots were incredibly difficult. I thought he had a lot of shots from distance, but he made big saves, and he didn't falter. This was a game, especially, I'm thinking back to those power plays, and look, I'm not saying the Flyers' power play is great, but they did have a lot of chances on the power play tonight. They generated a lot of shots. They had quality chances. Tarasov just shut the door. That 5-on-3, that 2-minute 5-on-3, the Flyers could have scored on a couple occasions there. He made some big saves. And if the Flyers score on those power plays, on 1 or even 2 of those power plays, it doesn't matter that they get a bad bounce in the second goal because they're already up 4-1. Who cares? Tarasov kept the Blue Jackets in the game, and then, shit happened in the third. But they don't have the chance for shit to happen in the third if Tarasov doesn't play as well as he did. Who were you hoping for me to pick?
No, those were the 3 I guessed. I was hoping that you were just going to go, fuck it, Cutter Gauthier, star number 1.
I wasn't sure. I mean, that would be, hey, he was star number 1 in the USA game, and we'll see if he's star number 1 in the gold medal game. I was curious if you were hoping that I was going to pick Johnny Gaudreau just to troll people. That was my thought.
No, I was just, the game was boring as hell outside of the last 5 minutes. I was like, oh, maybe he's just going to go Gauthier. But I did guess the 3 that you picked. So that is Charlie O'Connor. Thank you for joining us tonight, Charlie. I will see you. We'll be here live in studio at 3 p.m. tomorrow for our like one non-post game this week. So make sure everyone tunes in. Charlie, have a great night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Not a ton of time left here tonight, but I do want to talk about Cutter Gauthier just to close. God damn. If he's been saving, unleashing that shot for a moment that mattered, he sure picked one tonight, this afternoon, give his team a late lead to send Team USA to the World Junior Championship gold medal game. We'll all be rooting for him tomorrow. I think it's 1:30 is the gold medal game, so that'll be cool to check out. Maybe we're probably going to watch a bunch of it right here in studio before we go live. So that game will probably be ending as we're going live or while the show's going on. So that'll be cool to see what happens with Cutter Gauthier.
How do people watch it? That's number one question.
It's the NHL Network. How does anyone ever watch it? I have no idea. And if you watch the ads during this, there's like 1,400 people who watch NHL Network. Like the ads are all just paid programming. It's truly, it's a damn shame, but that's why nobody has NHL Network. All right, that will basically do it for us. But before we wrap up, I got to tell you, man, listen, a lot of fun events coming to town. If maybe you're following some of the wrestling news, some stuff got posted today for WrestleMania week that you're excited about. But the Flyers on a homestand right now. Maybe you want to check out this team in person. Say, what's up with this Joel Farabee, Travis Konecny connection? Connection. I don't know. I was trying to make it happen, and I was like, I just said connection again. That's the same word without changing it at all. If you want to check out the Flyers live or any events, you should do it with Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And that will do it for all of us here at PHLY Flyers. But like I said, we will be right back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So make sure you're tuned in for that. And as always, PHLY Flyers, the post game, our regular show, whatever it might be, is presented to you by our friends at Mortgage CS. Do it right now. Text Ben. Text him something about the game. If you have a question about maybe applying for a mortgage, being qualified, whatever it is, Mortgage CS, hit up Ben. I bet you he answers. I bet you he's already told us he's gotten some calls and texts, both about sports and about mortgages. That means he's seeing it and he's answering. He'll get back to you too. All right, that's it for real. I'm actually wrapping up now. I know it's like my third time, but thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that follow button. Subscribe right here on YouTube and set your reminders. Never miss a live show. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and PHLY Flyers, wherever you get your podcasts. You know the deal. My name is Bill Matz. For Charlie, for JP. Have a great week, Flyers fans.
Silly like the mayor.